Small town. Damn, that's you strictly. Small town. Damn, that's you strictly.
Ladies and gentlemen, as it turns out, Judge and Bobby Witt went 0-4 in Game 1 of the ALDS. The Liberty knock off the Aces in the WNBA playoffs. The Vikings indeed did fly back from London undefeated, and we are back to give you the real in sports. I'm your co-host, Small Town EP, live from Atlanta. Today, you can call me Mr. Long Hair with the Night Gears. He is Julian, live from New York City. And you are now tuned into your number one sports talk show on the All Things Sports Network, brought to you by Small Town Productions. Odds in the ticker up top, brought to you by ESPN Bet. June, how you doing today, man?
Chilling, man. I'm actually in the Bronx right now. Shout out to my
Boogie
Ray.
Down vibes.
Had me over tonight. We watching some good football, playing some Madden. I'm with my boys. So we doing something different today. I got a little audience here. You know me, I'm a little nervous, but we here, man. I hope the chat gets popping today. It's Sunday night. We got a good Sunday night football game coming up at Steelers and Cowboys. Let us see it, man.
Hell yeah. Before that, man, we are very, very, very well and very deep into MLB playoff seasons, and we were just pre-show prepping, setting up, about to go live, and Nick Castellanos hits a walk-off Game 2 to tie it on the way back to Queens. If I'm not mistaken, that game will be on Wednesday in Queens. Now the series is tied 1-1, June, going, like I said, back to New York. Are we expecting a dominant performance from the Mets, or is this going to be a close series that could possibly go 5 at this point from what you've seen?
I mean, I don't know. We saw – the thing is, yesterday we saw a really good game. Shout out to Castellanos tonight, getting a walk-off win at home, making sure they secure at least one home victory in this series. They had a really good game yesterday as well, up until they didn't. And, the Mets was able to pitch the hell out of that game. And I think this will be a close series. This is a divisional series. This is something that they play each other all season. They're not unfamiliar with anything. And so at the same time, with lineups like Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, you can pop at any moment and it can look ugly. But I think that ultimately this series will probably go 5 games.
And correction, Game 3 will be on Tuesday in Queens. So correction, Tuesday in Queens. Tonight, we do have Game 2 of the other NLDS game, being the LA Dodgers and the San Diego Padres. Yu Darvish taking the mound this evening for San Diego, looking to even up the series versus Jack Flaherty and the Dodgers. Padres got their ace on the mound. They pulling this game off tonight, June?
Padres want to steal one, but I don't know, man. At this point, it's like, you know, the Dodgers are who we think they are. And I don't know that I don't know that Padres can come into town and just steal it. I don't know that they can steal it. They're gonna have to come in, go back to San Diego, get 2 home wins. Eventually they're gonna have to win on the road if they want to win this series. But at this point, from what I saw yesterday, as good as they did play the Padres, it's that much more difficult for them to get a victory on the road at that.
Hey, listen, man. Yankees won. We're going on to game two. That Detroit game was kind of wild, but game two, they are actually favored in Cleveland, which is going to be very interesting to watch. Tomorrow, we'll get Detroit Cleveland game two and the Yankee game two. Now, let's take it over to football. We'll take it to across the pond, as they say. And something I mentioned in the intro and something that you said would happen on Thursday. The Vikings would return home undefeated. And Lord and behold, they did hold off the Jets to return home 5-0. Final score 23-17. June, what did you see out of this game? Aaron Rodgers threw 54 passes. I don't think that's a formula for success if you ask me. But hey, who am I? What did you see today in this game that gives you hope that this Minnesota team is going to make a playoff run deep into the playoffs?
Well, I want to not. Are you talking about Minnesota?
Yes, Minnesota.
Okay, I thought you were talking about the Jets. From this game, I mean, there's a lot to love from Minnesota, right? Solid defense that they're bringing every single week. I told you that I thought 5-0 was going to be only one team, right? And I thought the Jets were going to win this week, so I was wrong. But sound defense, Sam Darnold showing that he is a good quarterback in this league and can win you games. You mentioned it, though. I want to talk about the Jets. It's 53 attempts. Brees Hall not getting any yards. That offensive line not getting any push. And so for the Jets, I think the question is, are they going to be able to establish any type of run game to help Aaron Rodgers? Because 3 interceptions, that's not Aaron Rodgers. 53, throws a game. He at this point in his career, we can't see that and expect them for, sustainable success, if you will. And at this point, they're not having a horrible season, but they're still having a tough time trying to figure out what their identity is and who's it going to come from. Garrett Wilson, as their number one receiver, hasn't really been producing as much as we'd like for him to do. At this point. And so Aaron Rodgers and Robert Saleh, we already know that they have a good relationship, as they say. But at the same time, winning is going to cure everything. And if they continue to lose and put up performances like this, it's only going to be a matter of time, before you're going to start looking at who to blame and who's to leave. And you're never going to go quarterback over coach if you have a guy like Aaron Rodgers in the locker room. So the Jets, do you know who they play next week? Because at this point, it's not a must-win, but, I mean, they definitely –
The Jets have a divisional game versus the Bills. The Bills will be at MetLife.
Shout out to my boy here telling me the Bills, man. We saw the Bills in a tough game today, and they came back. They were struggling early, played a good second half, and Josh Allen is showing you that he's going to make his team compete, put themselves in a chance to win. So the Jets – versus the divisional rival Bills is always a tricky one. That's a must-win for them because it's also a divisional game.
So at the post game, Justin Jefferson was talking to a reporter and asked him about the rumors that Saleh was essentially doing a bunch of different schemes for him, and evidently Justin Jefferson, 14 targets, 6 catches, was held just under 100 yards. The Vikings have Detroit next week. Is this something that is this game something that Detroit might be able to look upon to maybe hold Justin Jefferson down again, maybe under 100 yards?
Yeah, of course. Sauce Gardner plays for the Jets too, right? Is he not a top 2 corner in this league, arguably? So the Lions don't have that. And the Lions are fine with what they have. I'm not like calling them out. But it makes sense that, a number one receiver will be held under 100 yards against a guy like Sauce Gardner. So whatever scheme it was, at the end of the day, they lost the game and it didn't work. So I don't know that Detroit is going to go steal from the playbook that didn't win them the game, essentially. Uh, However, maybe they look at Minnesota's playbook, right, and say, what are some things Minnesota's doing themselves that might give Justin Jefferson some hard troubles and stuff that they probably do in practice against him. So I wouldn't expect them to do that. But at the same time, I wouldn't expect them to do that so deeply. Obviously, they're going to look through film. There's 5 games here, and we need all the content we have to study. But they're not going to take from that, is what I'm saying.
I love that you mentioned the Bills as far as the Jets playing them next, because that is the next game that we're going to go over. Houston does outlast the Buffalo Bills in a game that, I mean, it went down to the wire, back and forth, final score 23-20. Now, Josh Allen and the Bills have lost 2 straight games, in both of which Josh Allen has thrown once 29 attempts, and then today 30 attempts. We've always talked about how, less is more for Josh Allen. How do they turn around this ship and not make this 3 in a row next week?
Yeah, I think they got to buckle down and play great defense again, because today you give up only, 23 to the Texans. CJ Stroud, he's gonna do his thing, but he didn't look all comfortable, and he wasn't just killing them. Granted, Nico Collins gets injured, leaves the game with a hamstring, so he was missing his number 1 receiver. But it starts with the defense for Buffalo. Josh Allen is going to make the plays. They're going to figure things out on offense. James Cook is going to have to also come through. But for me, defense is where it starts for them, so that they don't fall into this reliability clause. They don't have Josh Allen there to be Superman at this point. The Bills have created a deep roster. They lost 2 key receivers with Diggs and Gabe Davis, obviously, but they're making it work. And wide receivers don't paint the picture of a football team, so trenches, not giving up big plays. I think if they buckle down there, they'll be fine.
And Houston, man, they just can't lose at home. D'Amico Ryan on the sideline just looks super duper comfortable at the helm. I mean, who wouldn't be comfortable with a man by the name of CJ Stroud under center, as QB1 of your team? What else do you think aids in that comfortableness that D'Amico Ryan has on the sideline?
Well, winning. They're confident because they're winning. There's a good culture in the locker room. Everybody, has a respect for each other, and I think that energy builds that. So with that being said, he can't get too comfortable, because today there was a point in the game where it was their opportunity to go and kick the field goal the first time. And they're throwing the ball, getting pushed back. You have to run the ball and put yourself in position to keep the clock running and move upfield so that you can kick the field goal. So there was just some questionable late decisions, and that happens with a rookie second-year head coach. But since you spoke to the comfortability level thing, I just want to emphasize the fact that as good as you're doing, you shouldn't ever be too comfortable there. So I think D'Amico Ryans is doing a phenomenal job with that defense. Roster construction overall has been great for them, and we're seeing it. We'll talk about the Colts in a second here, but fuck, bro, like when we don't sign the players in the offseason that really could help the roster, and then players get hurt that we didn't give depth to, this is what happens. You lose to Jacksonville for the fucking 14th straight time or whatever it is, right, in Jacksonville. So.
And we'll definitely get to them. But before we get to them, I want to take it up to Washington, and specifically Cleveland, that played Washington today. Post game, Stefanski says there will be no QB changes. June, how ugly does this need to get before they start thinking about, Dorian Thompson or even maybe Jameis Winston?
Man, put Jameis in the game, man. Stop playing. Nah, I mean, it's just sad because 108 passing yards, right? That's unacceptable. This Washington Commanders team, EP, we talking about them week in, week out, and now we're talking about them as NFC East contenders. They just blew out and walked all over one of the top. I think this was the best defense last year,
Hmm.
and they have everybody from that roster on this team. So I don't understand, how Kevin Stefanski says we're not going to make any quarterback changes or anything like that, because clearly the quarterback is an issue. I mean, 125 yards and 1 touchdown. You're missing 24, right? Nick Chubb is a big loss in this offense, but last year it wasn't the problem. And again, I always go back to this Joe Flacco, because we saw him come into Indianapolis and put up 2 elite performances week in, week out after his starting quarterback got hurt. He's not even game planning for this.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson had all off season, and throughout this season to watch film and gather what he needs to become better for this offense, and he hasn't produced. 1 touchdown, 125 yards is sick work. And so, Jaden Daniels, on the other hand, we got to give credit to this rookie here. 238 yards. This is what is this 3 straight wins for them?
I believe so. Yeah.
So, hey, they're just gonna keep climbing the ranks. They're sitting at
Four straight.
4-1, right? Four straight.
Wins.
They lost week 1, and won 4 straight games. So, I don't know, man. To me, Kevin Stefanski is a good coach too. That's what's troubling here. That's what's really troubling. He's a really good coach, but he's at 1-4 right now, and their season is hanging on the balance, is what they say. And to me, it's over, because you have a lot of other lower tiered AFC teams that are looking a lot more competitive than the Browns. So good luck to them.
Now let's take it down to Jacksonville, man. You mentioned it last pod. It's been some time since you guys won down there in northern Florida. Today, high scoring game. Final score, Jacksonville 37, the Colts 34. Joe Flacco. I mean, last year we were just talking about Cleveland. He looked very impressive in their playoff run. He's throwing dots in Indianapolis now. Trevor Lawrence today throws 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Joe Flacco, like I said, just throws 3 touchdowns today for 359 yards. I know that you didn't get the dub, June. Joe Flacco looks good. Are you confident with him under center right now?
Yeah, 100%. He's not the issue. The issue is defense, bro. And I'm on the hashtag fire Gus Bradley train. Gus Bradley train.
You said leave him in Jacksonville.
Sick of him. We should have. And before the season, going into the off season, we were getting a lot of fire Gus Bradley, tweets, and I was seeing a lot of that. I wasn't really a fan of that, because I felt like, as much as our defense does let up, he is a good coach. He can get players better, and he can teach players. So I respect him to that regard. However, the game plan is just not going to work. It's not going to work. All season, we're getting torched, through the run game, having the 31st worst run game in the league. And then we let Trevor Lawrence go for a career day today, and we give up a career day to Tank Bigsby. It's just too many holes. Now, I've already told you I want to fire the defensive coordinator. Cool. Where I'm starting to look next is our general manager, because I think it's fully on you at this point to not have put together a good enough roster for your team to go into your division opponent's home and beat them. And now, you weren't here from 2014, Chris Ballard. It's fine. You've been here since 2017, I think 2016, 17 off season. So you haven't won in Jacksonville. You've had Phillip Rivers. You've had Carson Wentz. You've had Jacoby Brissett. You've had Andrew Luck was the last to do it. That was Frank Reich. But we're now at Anthony Richardson, and we're also at Joe Flacco. None of them can do it. And it can't be a curse. It's not a curse. But today, we were missing Jonathan Taylor. We were missing DeForest Buckner. We were missing Kenny Moore. This is crucial, right? However, I go back to roster construction. You didn't want to sign Justin Simmons in the offseason, but Justin Simmons is in Atlanta, and he's balling out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying our safety play is horrible, but could we use some help in the defensive backfield? Of course we could. Stephon Gilmore. I'm not saying that he wanted to sign with Indianapolis, but did we go give a bag to him? We didn't. And he had a game-sealing interception in Minnesota, and they have a top 5 defense in the league, 5-0. These are players that are all pros that were sitting on the shelf. Quandre Diggs, another free agent that was out there as a safety, and we didn't sign him. So, you know, us drafting the guys that he drafts, I respect it, and I love that we're homegrown and we pay the guys that we draft and we find good talent. But you need established talent as well. And when I said roster construction, we were talking about the Texans. They go and trade for Joe Mixon. They trade for Stephon Diggs. They signed Daniil Hunter. You know what I'm saying? They drafted Will Anderson. Yeah, of course they're gonna be raw. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, bro. It's frustrating as a Colts fan because for us to have put that performance up. Shout out to Alec Pierce. Everybody was talking about Alec Pierce as wide receiver 4 on this team. With Josh Downs coming back, Michael Pittman being a number 1, Adonai Mitchell fighting for the 3 spot, which Pierce had last year. I mean, he comes out this season not scared of anything, making the biggest plays for us all season, and we still can't convert those into wins. So I don't know what to say now. This is kind of who we are. We're not a deep team. We're lacking at cornerback. We are a little hurt, and our quarterback is a project so far. So that's kind of where I'm gonna take it for now with this Colts team. And I'm not necessarily fire Chris Ballard, but I definitely would like to see the roster improve next season as like a final chance for him.
Jacksonville gets Chicago next week. They go to Chicago. Is this a game that they can build upon, June, or was I know you
100%,
yeah
100%. They had got a lot of pressure on Joe Flacco today, and Trayvon Walker. They drafted him number 1 2 years ago, or a year. I think it was last year. They drafted him number 1 overall, and he hit stride. I mean, he had 10 sacks last season. He came today, had a strip sack. I think he had 2 sacks. Ended the game with a game-winning sack. Caleb Williams is struggling. The offensive line over there in Chicago is no bueno, and they definitely got to win against the worst team in the league today. So I'm not going to give them too much credit there, but it'll be a big test for. Is this game in Jacksonville or in Chicago?
in Chicago.
It's going to be a big test for Caleb Williams. You have to defend the house against a really strong defensive front. That's what Jacksonville has, a very good front 7, fast, athletic, strong, can get to the quarterback and stop the run. Caleb Williams, we've seen him play against teams that can, get after him. It doesn't look too good. So I do expect Jacksonville to bounce off of this win to get another one. They were really close last week in getting a win in Houston. So it's a lot to build upon. However, they were very close to giving this game up, right? And
Yes,
I think
sir.
a lot goes on coaching. So is Peterson and Press Taylor, I think his name is, offensive coordinator. Are they going to have their guys ready? Because the game plan they had this week, it worked until it didn't, and then they basically had to hold on for dear life, to not let up a win. If there was 10 more minutes or 5 more minutes on that clock, they probably would have lost that game, and it would have been due to coaching because they put up, as many points as they needed. So I think they won 37-34.
Yes, sir. 37-34. I will say the one thing that Caleb Williams does have on his side next week against Jacksonville is that the Bears are undefeated at home. They have not dropped one at home. They do go on the road the week after to Washington, June, and they are winless on the road, 0-2, losing at Houston and, as you know, at Indianapolis. Are these just kind of some rookie jitters going on the road? Or is this something that they need to address and fix immediately? Because if you're gonna go winless on the road, that's 9-8, and that's not sustainable. That's not a playoff team. What do you think about this, June?
I don't think that they have to figure something out right now or rush any process. This is a rookie quarterback, right? At the end of the day, bro, he was a number 1 overall pick. We talked about him like the next Patrick Mahomes and whatever. Hey, this is the reality of the NFL. It's tough. Winning on the road, winning a game in the NFL is tough, whether you're home or not. Going on the road and getting a win is even tougher. And for a rookie quarterback, you have to have all the patience in the world. You didn't draft him to win this year. Obviously, you think that he's good enough to put you guys in a position, and you guys bolstered up the roster, signing guys on offense and defense to make it look, I guess, sexy, if you will. But the Bears are not a Super Bowl contending team. The Bears are a playoff contending team, not even a serious contending team in the playoffs. They're just trying to get to the playoffs. So you got to have all the patience in the world with Caleb Williams, and don't expect too much, and kind of just ride the wave. Obviously, with correcting things and coaching along the way, you can't let them. If there is something that you're noticing pattern wise, work through that. But I'm not going to sit here and act like I think, oh my God, they can't win a game on the road. Yeah, I don't. I don't think they're good enough to right now. So they'll get there and they'll figure it out, but just not yet.
You want to talk about this ugly New England game that looked like a low scoring first quarter in the NBA?
Not really. The only thing I have on that Dolphins game, because I didn't even really pay too much attention to it. I saw Ramondre Stevenson after getting benched, breaking a few tackles and scoring a touchdown, didn't fumble this game. So shout out to him for that, making a statement there. Jacoby Brissett gets banged up every freaking play. And this is why part of why Drake May is not playing, because he would literally, I don't want to say that, he would get hurt out there if he was out there right now. But why, when the Dolphins quarterback gets hurt, like they have that key injury and then their whole team just sucks? There's no reason for like the team to look this bad. Your offense should look bad. I mean, Tyler Huntley, he picked him up from free agency, and in 2 weeks he has to be the starter for this team, his hometown team. Shout out to him because he's a Hallandale boy. But what do you expect? This is a Tua Tagovailoa offense. This is no other quarterback in the league offense. McDaniel has this specifically for him. So, but why is the defense playing so poor? Why are you guys unable to, snap a field goal? Like when it rains, it pours, I guess. But that's bad, and it looks like there's a bit of quit, if you will.
You have always said that you're not a big fan of Sean Payton, and it seems like his QB1 may not be a big fan either. There was a bit of a discussion, I would say, is what I'm going to call it. But nonetheless, they do pull off the win at home against a division foe in the Raiders, 34-18. Patrick Surtain does pick off the Raiders 2 times. You like how Denver's looking and how Bo Nix looks this season, June?
I think Bo Nix is impressing me because he's getting quality wins, right? Division wins, wins against, who was the first one that he had? Aaron Rodgers. He beat the Jets on the road. Shout out to Patrick Surtain for getting that pick 6 though. That was very Champ Bailey-esque. It's just nothing special, right? It's nothing too special. So I can't give like praise. I can give props, but I can't give praise, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's fair. It was a blowout win. So I really would love to know what the context of that discussion was. Are we putting any weight into that? I didn't watch the game, so I don't know what happened right before. I'm not sure what, Bo Nix was a little, not satisfied about, but are we putting any weight on that?
No, we're going to come back to that tomorrow's podcast. We're going to come back to that. But what's going on in Las Vegas? Because, this is a week after Devontae Adams, or someone made business decisions, or that was a couple weeks ago. And then, Devontae Adams comes out and says he wants to be traded. And now it's like, there's no fight. This Denver Broncos team is not – they should no business putting up 34 points. And Bo Nix throwing 2 touchdowns on your defense. Like, I don't know. And for Gardner Minshew to go 12 of 17 for 130 yards and 2 interceptions, I don't know, bruh. I don't know, because this is worrisome. Teams is not running the ball either. We're seeing the NFL go away from running that ball, and it's concerning. You don't win games like that. So Antonio Pierce is going to have to start answering for his crimes. You lost to Bo Nix and you lost to fucking Andy Dalton in 2024. Like, who's making business decisions, bro?
Hey, man, let's talk about this overtime thriller that we had today in Cincinnati. The Ravens do outlast an overtime game against Joe Burrow and company, 41-38. Lamar Jackson, 26 for 42, 348 yards, 4 touchdowns. Joe Burrow, 30 for 39, 392, and 5 touchdowns with an interception. Did the Bengals lose this or did the Ravens win this, June?
Ba- uh, the Bengals definitely lost this game because they were up all game and they were letting Lamar Jackson be Lamar Jackson, and that's understandable. He's the MVP of the league, right? But they got to trade Joe Burrow off that team, bro. I'm sick of this shit. Joe Burrow is too good of a quarterback for this to be happening. I don't understand how they're just not able to close out and win games. You strip sack, not even strip sack. Lamar Jackson fumbles on a snap, and now you got the ball in overtime with a chance to win the game because you're inside the 50, inside the 45, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Now, you, Kevin, and I had a big discussion through the group chat text. Shout out to Kev. He's I think he's in the air right now. He's
On a flight.
Should be landing at like 8:30. But we had a big discussion in the chat about how Kev says, I wish I had the text actually, but I don't. He basically was saying how the Bengals screwed this up because they had the ball at a good spot and they ran the ball 3 straight times with Chase Brown and didn't give Jamar Chase the opportunity to, get a one-on-one matchup. And for me, I think, yeah, Jamar Chase was balling all game. He had as many yards as he did, and Joe Burrow had 5 touchdowns. You guys just got a turnover in overtime across the 50. You have Evan McPherson, who's one of the best kickers in the league, one of the most clutch kickers in the league. My thing is bro, you're fine. Run the ball and kick the field goal, win the game. It's the same thing like how Jim Harbaugh, they same as a stretch, but Derrick Henry, when they finally get the ball back, he runs for a big run, and they just kick the ball on first down because we're not here to play. We're not here to – Lamar Jackson's been being a fucking MVP all game, and we're going to let him score his 6th touchdown. No, we're kicking the ball because that's what he gets how many $1 million to make this kick every day, and we see him do it in practice. We've seen him do it in divisional round of playoffs. We've seen him do it in the Super Bowl. What are we talking about here? It's Evan McPherson. What happens after they run the ball 3 straight times? They fumble the fucking snap. That's poor execution. And Kev wants to blame coaching, and we'll have our little talk, whether he comes on tomorrow or Thursday. But you can't blame coaching for poor execution. If you have your opportunity to win, now if you get pushed back on first down, second and 11, run the ball again, you get 1 yard. Run the ball again, you get pushed back. Now you done lost yards on this drive. Bro, they ran the ball and got upfield every play. McPherson is hitting that field goal every time. So for it to be poor execution on the last play of the game, or for their last play of the game on offense, I don't think it's fair to indict Coach Taylor for that. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Kevin and I can disagree. We can agree to disagree. I don't even agree to disagree because I don't see how he disagreed with me. But
hey, I don't think you can do anything else with the Bengals, but just feel bad at this point because that's where I'm at. It looks like they're making weekly payments on tickets to Cancun right now, but neither here nor there. Listen, the Cardinals hand San Francisco their first loss of the season at home. And now San Fran has lost 3 of the last 4 games played. Should there be concern in San Francisco, June?
Definitely. And, Brock Purdy, I told you I want to give him his fair chance. And I want to see how he can play when he doesn't have all his pieces around him. And we got to grade him off that. And what did you say? 3 out of their 4 what?
3 out of their last 4 they've lost.
Yeah. That's concerning for sure. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals are playing really, really good football right now, and they're competing
they got no
every
business,
game that
though.
they've played. They have no business winning this game versus a Super Bowl contender. This is what I was telling the guys here. I'm like, this is a team that should win the NFC versus the worst team in their division. Air quotes, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yo, was Kittle missing? Debo playing. It's just McCaffrey out. It's just McCaffrey out. But when I say just McCaffrey out, how did they lose the game, bro? They're up, right? They're up at the
Mm-hmm.
10-yard line with less than 2.5 minutes to go, and McCaffrey's backup fumbles the ball. Now, you could argue Christian McCaffrey probably don't fumble that ball right there in that spot. You know what I'm saying? So it does matter. You know, situations do have to have context for them to make sense so that you're not just saying anything. And that is a big spot in the game for Jordan Mason to fumble the ball. But don't they got this elite defense, man?
Yeah.
Didn't they let up a 4th and 5 on that drive? You know, like, it ain't just one-stop shop. This team is elite all around, and they should be able to complement each other so that when Jordan Mason, who's the backup and the young guy on the team, makes a mistake, the other guys around him can say, you know what? Well, good thing we're a fucking all-pro defense, and we're not going to let Kyler Murray and the rookie Marvin Harrison Jr. with no Trey McBride here, your best weapon. Nah. So I just think there's a lot of concern for Kyle Shanahan to figure out. Brock Purdy's going to have to play a lot better football if they want to turn this around. Shout out to the Cardinals for getting that big dub on the road.
Is the Shanahan effect real, June? Are we going to start having to coin that phrase?
I mean, Shanahan is proving that he's a great coach. That's one thing. He's a great coach. And nobody's going to take away Kyle Shanahan's coaching ability. Now, closing out games and winning games, different little scenario. So, and that's part of coaching. So I do get it. But that's the conversation you got to have if we're going to talk about it. It's not about, you know, him being a good coach or being able to be a good regular season coach. And it's that crunch time where shit kind of gets tricky for him. So,
hey man, Jordan Love rallies, throws 2 touchdowns late to win the game in LA versus the Rams. The Giants pull it off in Seattle. You got any thoughts on those games?
My bad, I was muted up. So underwhelming for the Rams, man. Matthew Stafford. I don't know if he needs a change of scenery or if he's time to retire at this point because the change of scenery from Detroit to LA, we saw a spark, right? We saw a Super Bowl. We saw some greatness out of there. But this season, man, is very, very underwhelming what we're seeing from him. Turning the ball over every game, it seems like. And so if you're going to have him out there throwing for 45 times a game, I would expect more than 1 touchdown. Now, I'll take a step back. Puka Nacua out, Cooper Kupp out, right? You got to roll with what you got.
Absolutely.
And Sean McVay, being the, you know, guru coach that he is, has to be better. Because there's blame pie. Who are we going to give it to? I mean, Kyron Williams ran for 100 yards. You know what I'm saying? You let the Packers only throw for 225 yards. Their best running back didn't run for over 100 yards. So it's like, we didn't get whooped over here. You know what I'm saying? We didn't get whooped over here, but we didn't do enough. We even had more rushing yards and total yards, passing yards over them. But, and what's concerning is that the Rams were 8 of 16 on third down versus Jordan Love and the Packers 1 of 8 on third down. They had 76 plays to Jordan Love and the Packers 58 plays. They only punted the ball 3 times. Jordan Love punted 5 times. But interception to 1 interception versus 1 fumble to 0 fumbles. And if you look at it, the turnover battle is probably going to tell the game. And they lost the turnover battle. They lost by 1 possession, and they outplayed their opponent. It means something. So Sean McVay has to figure something out because 1-5 now.
1-4.
I mean,
yeah.
1-4. Excuse me. Your season is. I mean, all the 1-4 team season's over for real, for real. But if we want to be honest, hey, you could find a 3-run, you know, three game streak. Find yourself at 3-4. Find yourself back at 500.
Before you know it.
Hey, other teams do have to lose for that, you know, to make sense too. So.
No, absolutely. June, last week, your Colts did hand the Steelers their first loss of the season. Now the Steelers are at home against Dallas. Game is delayed right now. Kickoff should be momentarily. Now, what does Dallas need to do to hand the Steelers their first loss of the season at home?
Shit. Dallas got to stop the run and run the ball. And I think it'll be easier to stop the run, being as though Najee Harris, to me, isn't really much of a factor. Um, but that front seven for the Steelers, with Highsmith, with Watt, with Hayward, Holcomb, it's a lot of guys there, and I don't know who's going to be the guy in Dallas, Zeke, to
Yeah.
run that ball, right? To run that ball. I think Tony Pollard was a huge loss, and we're seeing that right now because CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott, it looks like week in and week out, they're going to have to deliver the game. They're going to have to be the ones to go and get it. And if CeeDee Lamb doesn't show up one week, if Dak Prescott's off, this team ain't going to do nothing. And then their defense can't even stop the run, So if they're playing from behind, it looks kind of bad. And so Justin Fields is in a big spot right now. It's prime time. He's getting a start in Pittsburgh. It's in Pittsburgh, right?
In Pittsburgh, yes, sir.
Yeah, getting a start at home. It's Cowboys Steelers. That's like an old time rivalry. This means a lot. So can he withstand that? I do think so because we've seen him in the BCS, national championship game. We've seen him in the college football playoff. We've seen him in a lot of big spots, making a lot of big plays versus a lot of good teams. So the Cowboys gotta stop the run. If they let Justin Fields and that rushing offense get loose, it's not gonna look good for them. They will be missing Dexter Lawrence and I believe Micah Parsons tonight. Is Micah Parsons active?
I do not believe so. I think he is
because he had an ankle injury last week. I mean, I don't think it would be smart for him to play. That's why I say that. But I don't know his actual status.
Micah Parsons is active. He's active. He's good.
Oh, he's active. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he ain't 100%. I'll tell you that.
Definitely ain't 100%.
High ankle sprain, shit.
Them things hurt.
That's cortisone.
I had a couple
of
cortisone. Yeah.
Parsons.
I talked to Aaron Rodgers with them perk 30s real quick. He on the flight back home right now. Oh man, we're gonna keep it football, but we're gonna switch it over to college football real quick. In the weekend, man, there was a lot of ranked teams that lost. A lot of underdogs came out victorious, right? But guess what? Not so fast in California. Somebody help the Bear because there was a fight at Cal. Miami does outlast the California Golden Bears 39-38 in a thriller. Move up to 6. Should have been top 5, but I digress. Yeah. June, what did you love about this game? What did you hate about this game? Cam Ward went for another 400 yards. 400 yards.
I don't know that I loved anything about this game. I was sick all night. Put it like this. It was such a great slate of college football all day. We saw so many upsets within the top 10, top 11. We had like 5 upsets. I'm waiting all day for this game. I'm prepping. UM play at 10:30 tonight. It's lit. I'm staying in. I'm watching football. Bro, we come down the field and score the first touchdown, looking smooth as butter. Here they come. Boom, big play. All right, we get the ball back. Stop, punt. Then big play. We get the ball back. Stop, punt. Big play. Bro, we down 21-10. Quick. That shit got scary, and then it got out of hand. We was down 25 points. We was down 35-10.
Mm-hmm.
With 8 minutes left in the third quarter. And I never wavered as far as this game's over. Because one, I don't do that. I really don't like to say that. I like to just thug it out. I mean, especially if it's football, like we waited, or even basketball, we waited how many days to watch this game. I'm not going to sit here 10 minutes or an hour into it saying it's over. Fuck it. We're going to be here. We're going to try to. But knowing, honestly, what kind of defense we have and the ability for them to score was only through big plays. And so if we kind of just got a little more discipline, kept everybody in front of us, we could get stops. Now we got to score, right? That was the big part of it. We only had 10 points and we had to get on the scoreboard. But we have a Heisman Trophy candidate I'm not worried about us being able to score. I know we can score. We just haven't figured out how to, and that's okay. But it's time to figure it out. And it was like, all right, well, now is the time. Now's the time. And as we go, we're just watching, and you got to just appreciate, man. Like Cam Ward is really one of those guys that can take a game over, put it in his hands, and makes the players around him better. Shout out to Xavier Restrepo, who's gonna line up as number one in history for wide receiving, yards all time. Like who would have thought? 5'10", 5'9" kid, Puerto Rican kid from South Florida was gonna be the all time leading, receiver. So he's got about 400, maybe like 300 yards or so to pass that. He's gonna do it. He just dropped 160 yesterday. I mean, throw the ball to X on third down, and you're gonna get the conversion. That's kind of how it goes. He reminds me a lot of Amon-Ra St. Brown. I put it like that: toughness, good route running, hands on 10, toughness again. I gotta say. And he's just gonna go up for it. Like he's not the biggest guy, and I'm not gonna throw jump balls to him. But if he's one-on-one, I think he's gonna get the ball. He's Mr. Make It Happen. So shout out to X on a huge effort. I would like to see us clean up the penalties. I'm sick of seeing the 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, no matter if it's a stupid call or not. Have more discipline. The drops have to clean up because Cam Ward put 2 balls on the money last night. I mean, that he put a deep ball. It looked like Anthony Richardson's week 1 deep ball versus Houston. Red basket, and Isaiah Horton wasn't able to bring it down. But it is what it is. We won the game. Everybody was talking all that shit. Everybody was, sitting there at Cal thinking Cal was gonna win, and all those Cal fans was all happy and shit. And you could just see the momentum switch, and the Cal fans just couldn't even give the energy to their team because it was just so like tight in the ass for them. They was like, oh my God,
Yep.
UM is coming back. UM is coming back. UM is coming back until we finally did. And now they crying on the sidelines. So shout out to Cal. Shout out to Cam Ward. Welcome to the ACC. That's UM After Dark.
That part. Hey, man, Bama Falls. The last time that Bama played Vanderbilt, it was 2022. It was a 55-3 game in Bama's favor. The time before that, 2017, it was a 59-0 game. That's 114-3 in the last 2 games. And it seems like Vanderbilt took that personally, June. How were they able to pull off this upset?
Bro, yesterday morning, Nick Saban literally was talking to Pat McAfee and said the easiest place to play is Vanderbilt. All right, say less. Well, Coach Kalen DeBoer is now the head coach of that school, right? And so he found out quick. Jalen Milroe didn't have the best game. He didn't have the worst game either. I think that as a team, they just was outplayed all game. And Vanderbilt never was intimidated. They never felt any type of way. And every possession, they brought it. And I think their quarterback's confidence and swagger took them through that game because he made a lot of plays in that game that if he wasn't playing, they don't win that game. Shout out to him on that 4th down, putting a dot in the end zone and having the confidence to go, 50 yards on a 4th and 1, taking hits, right? Putting his shoulder down and just doing what he had to do for a 1st down, getting extra yards and conversion. So it was more about we outplayed you today. And I think that Alabama, coming off that Georgia win, they probably played down to their opponent. That's kind of how that works. And, Nick Saban, they say Nick Saban is one of the best coaches to have his teams ready after a loss, after a big win, and making sure that shit don't change. You know what I'm saying? Don't get too high. I think they got too high, and that shit bit them. Hopefully, the Miami Hurricanes next week can move up in the polls because OSU plays Oregon, Texas plays Georgia, so that's 2 top 5 teams that are gonna already, annihilate themselves. And UM has a bye week, so hopefully we can move into that top 5 seed, and then we got move on to Louisville on the road. It's gonna be a tough task.
It is. Hey, man, we talked about this game on Thursday. Tennessee going to Arkansas. We said it was going to be a tough game, and then Tennessee fucks around and goes scoreless for 3 quarters. They scored 14 points, all 14, all 2 touchdowns in the third quarter alone. Arkansas storms the field. June, we had Ali on the pod on Thursday, and we kind of alluded like, hey, this is going to be a tough game. Those SEC defenses tend to show up towards the middle of the season. How much of this was Arkansas's defense, and how much of this was Tennessee's inefficiency to just score?
Yeah, I think Tennessee's inefficiency to score was because of Arkansas's defense. Nico put up a lackluster performance, threw for only 150 yards, no touchdowns in the air. Dylan Sampson, I mean, all hell, Dylan Sampson was the only reason they was in this game because they ran the ball, and they ran the ball straight down Arkansas. Taylor Green, on the other hand, Arkansas's quarterback, he threw for 260 yards. He just couldn't get in the end zone as well. Now, Dylan Sampson, I mentioned him because, 140 yards, 2 touchdowns was the reason that Tennessee was even competing in this game. Arkansas, they were getting drive after drive down the field, in field goal range, and they couldn't come up with points, and they couldn't execute to finish the drive. And so it's got to be promising for them because, one, they got the win. They found a way to win, right? You got to be proud of the group effort. But it's also promising because you have a young quarterback, and there was a lot of missed opportunities throughout this game, and you still found a way to win. This was the game Arkansas probably should have lost, even though Tennessee didn't play their prettiest football. Cam Ward said it, an ugly win is better than a good loss. And so this was in my opinion, bad loss for Tennessee because based on how Arkansas couldn't make a field goal, couldn't get points on a lot of drives, couldn't even find their way in the end zone till late. How? That's what it is. It's like how. And you're a top 5 team at the time. This is an unranked opponent. Obviously, it's SEC football, SEC road football, but Nico's just going to have to go back to the drawing board and figure it out for next week. Ali, I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? Like, I thought Tennessee was going to win it, and he had a chance at the end. They gave him a good chance.
For sure.
Had a couple plays there late, but you don't never want to come back. You don't ever want to have to, a minute left, drive down the field, right? You want to leave it all out there to where you do enough throughout the game, and Arkansas clearly did more.
A lot of things went down this weekend. Washington beat Michigan. Texas A&M routed Missouri in the game that I said Missouri would win, but Missouri held, I think, what was it? I think it was like 10 points in that game. A lot of things went down. Like we were saying, a lot of underdogs won. Do you have any other thoughts on any of the games this weekend that we had?
I was watching college football all day yesterday. The Georgia game was good. They put up a fight, Auburn did, but Carson Beck is phenomenal talent. I think Colorado had the week off. I didn't hear nothing about no Shador. It was good football. We had a lot of good NFL games today, good college football games yesterday and Friday. Oh, the UNLV Syracuse game was a really good game on Friday. So Syracuse and Louisville coming up on UM's schedule. Marlon wants me to meet him at that Syracuse game actually up in November.
Hey, fire!
So I might have to try to see if I go, but I'm excited for next week. We got OSU, like I said, OSU, Oregon. We got Texas, Georgia. I think with those 2 games right there, we'll be content for the weekend.
Fire. There are isolated thunderstorms in Pittsburgh right now, which is what is causing the delay in Sunday Night Football right now. Hopefully those scattered thunderstorms or isolated thunderstorms will turn into scattered thunderstorms and then scatter on the way so we can get a good game this evening. A lot of things went on this weekend in soccer, in the football world as well. Danny Carvajal and Real Madrid out with a knee injury, not looking well. It could derail their season, including any Champions League, La Liga matches. It's going to be very interesting. We had a Manchester United tie today against Aston Villa. That was a hell of a game as well. We're in fall. A lot of sports are going on. We got playoff baseball. We're in the middle of football season, WNBA playoffs. where the Liberty are waiting for the winner of the Sun and Lynx. Shout out to the Liberty knocking off the Aces.
Yeah.
New York's
Defending
looking good.
champs.
Yeah, that part. New York's looking great right now. The Mets, the Yankees, the Liberty. Yo, I know there's energy up there right now. I know there's energy up there right now. You heard?
Man, fuck the Yankees, man. Talk about, man.
Hey, you know what? My favorite segment of the show, right? And it's not an actual segment. I only have one little take, June. Fair or foul? We're gonna get a Subway Series World Series this year.
Did you see Bryce Harper's almost walk off? It was a foul ball. Yeah, foul. We're not gonna get no Subway Series. Dodgers going to the World Series, and in the AL, we might get a Yankees Dodgers. Mets ain't going to the fucking World Series, man. Get out of here. Let's be clear.
Hey, man, we said this. We said they weren't going to the playoffs.
You're right, but the Mets have a chance. I mean, sorry, the Yankees have a chance. The Yankees have an honest chance. The lineup is too strong. They have a lot of good pitching. And so I wouldn't be mad to see Yankees Dodgers.
Luke Weaver looks good. Luke Weaver.
It would bother me a bit, but I know the energy in the city would be cool to see them in the World Series, and ultimately the Dodgers would win. So, it would be pretty cool to see.
Nigga.
So shout out to my pops.
New York.
Shout out to my nephew Xavier. Baby Xavier was born last night.
Facts. Shout out to you, bro. Shout out to you.
Shout out to my sis. Yes, sir.
2 times,
More
Uncle.
life.
Uncle 2 times. You heard? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, as we cross over the 56-minute mark, this has been your Sunday evening All Things Sports talk show on the All Things Sports Network, brought to you by Small Town Productions. Ticker up top with the odds, brought to you by ESPN Bet. If you tapped in on the live, yo, Ray, I see you. I know I didn't shout you out earlier, but we appreciate you tapping in. If you tune in after the fact, we appreciate you even more because you could have been anywhere in the world, but we're wherever you are listening to us right now. So thank you so much. And we will see you all. I know June mentioned tomorrow, but we'll see you all Tuesday evening, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Catch us right here live. We'll see y'all